So the next thing we're going to do is complete the rest of these drums and put the heads on. So remember now, when you've got each set of the heads, so this is the 10-inch head. One that has the logo is slightly thicker material than the bottom one. Okay, so the bottom one is the resonant head. The one with the logo, the slightly thicker one, is the batter head, which is going to go on the top. So again, line up your logos and assemble it just like I showed you. Finger tight them first and then tighten them. And once we get all these put together, we'll do a little bit on tuning. So we got our two rack toms put together here, and I've got them fairly in tune. We'll do a little fine tuning when it's on the kit, but just again to emphasize, you can tap an inch or so in from each of the tension rods with your key. You try and get them to where they're all about the same pitch. You hear the bottom head's a little bit higher pitch than the top head, so I'm going to bring that down a little bit. A lot of that is because it's so much thinner, so a thicker head is going to make your drums sound deeper. Just like when I tapped on them before they're even on the drum, you could hear the difference in the sound. But we want the top and the bottom head to be fairly close in relationship to each other. That was a little higher. Also, you want to make sure, like the bass drum, that there's no wrinkles in it. You don't have it so loose that it's got some wrinkles going on. And then on the floor tom, it's the same thing. We want the batter head, the side you hit, with the logo, matching the logo, right side up, because this has 3 floor tom legs. This is the floor tom, and it sits on the floor by itself with its own 3 legs. So I've just seen a lot of people put together a drum set and just get them upside down, and then they wonder why they can't get their floor tom a little higher. It's because they installed the heads wrong side, on the wrong side, and the legs too. So we're just going to finish putting this one together, and then we can put all the hardware up and put the whole kit together and hear how it sounds. So one more time, we're going finger tight on all these lugs. See, it's not tight yet. It's a lot of slack there. So I'm going to a couple of turns across here. Now I'm moving to the next section. Across, over to the next one. Across. Still got some wrinkles right here. You can also push down in the middle. That'll help you see if there's any wrinkles. You'll just know if you got to tune up a little bit more on one side than the other. Okay, now we grab our 3 floor tom legs, install them inside the leg holders here. First time they can be a little tight, so you might want to need to turn it in there and get it to where it can move up and down fairly easily. And then we tighten down the wing nut. Go to the other side. And at this point, we're not really concerned with how far they're in. We'll get them adjusted once we stand this up and get it put into the rest of the kit. So for now, just snug them down, and then we've got our floor tom and the rack toms and the bass drum. All right, so the next part we want to do is mount our toms onto the bass drum with these tom mounts. Okay, this is also where a lot of people run into problems getting the right angle and the right height of their toms. So basically you want these wing nuts facing out. So that way, I mean, these are identical at this point. So you want to make sure that the big wing nut here that adjusts the angle of the tom that way is pointing to the front of the drum. And we're just going to set it in and tighten it down right about there. Open this one up. Again, the wing nut is pointing forward. Slide it in here. A little bit of an angle going and get them about the same height. These are equipped with memory locks, like most drums are. There's one on the bottom and one where the toms go. So you take your tuning key. We're going to loosen these up and scoot them all the way in to get started here. We're going to loosen these up so that we can lock it in place once we know right where we want it. Okay, so we're going to take the smallest drum, a 10-inch tom in this case, slide it onto the tom holder. Now here's where a lot of people have a hard time with. They'll do this kind of an angle with their toms, get them both going that way, and so it's like kind of like this, and it doesn't make for a very smooth service. Basically, you want your drumstick to be able to rebound back towards you, and right now a drumstick, if I'm sitting at this drum set and I've got it set up this way, my drumstick's going to rebound naturally off this way, so we want it to come flat at me, and you can't do that if your tom arm is set at that angle. So what you want to do, raise it up higher, bring this down to parallel or even point it down just a little bit. It gives you a lot more freedom to adjust where your tom sits. And now I can get it to where it's going to rebound right back at me, and that way I can control the stick better. So depending on the height of the person that's going to be sitting at this drum set, you can now adjust. You've got a little bit of play here, but I'm going to wait till I get the little slightly larger tom on there. We'll see how much play we have there, and then we'll situate these at this point. So I'm going to take this memory lock. There's a little, we're going to get a close-up here. So we want this notch to fit into this notch right here. Okay? So we're going to slide that back on. We're going to turn that and make sure that sits right in there. Now we can situate this a little farther out if we want to, or all the way in. We're going to kind of split the difference and go right in the middle. And we're not going to lock this down yet until we're sure that's where we want it. So right now I'm just going to snug that one down. That's sort of locked in, but once we do lock this down, then we can always take the tom off and it goes right back into place. That's why they call it a memory lock. It goes right back in the same place, and we just snug it down, and then it always goes back in the same position. So we're going to put the 12-inch tom on in the same way. I'm going to bring this angle down just a little bit to match the other one. The tom angle and tom height is all personal preference, but you know, there's ergonomics that go in there. You want to make it comfortable for yourself to play on your drum set and make it easy so that you can do the least amount of work for the most what's the word I'm looking for? Result. There we go. I want to do the least amount of work and get the most result. Okay, so now we've got a slight height difference here, but we want to make sure that we're not going to be hitting our bass drum here. So we can angle it down one more notch on the tom arm and bring up the tom. If you like a little bit more angled, that's one way we could do it. And then we'll get the smaller drum to match. We're still hitting on that. So we can raise it up just a little bit more. As long as we're clearing that, we're good. So I'm going to bring this one up to match. And change the angle down a little bit. We're getting close. This is one of the trickier parts to setting up a drum set. The best, in an optimal way is to get these toms sitting just where you want them. The nice thing is we have the memory lock, so once you get it set there, you can always go right back into the same place. So now I'm going to set the memory locks on the bottom for the height. I'm going to set the memory locks up by the toms so that they always go back at the same angle. Now we're going to set our floor tom in place. Raise up this stool. This one you just loosen the wing nut here and slide the bolt out. And you've got several different holes to choose from for height. So notice the logos are all facing the drummer. If you want to angle this towards you, you're just going to loosen that leg a little bit. I'll even bring these ones up. And personally, the way I like to play is I like to get my floor tom and my snare drum at a matching angle as well. And basically that angle should allow you to take your drumstick and easily hit the center of the drum without hitting a rim at the same time, unless you want to. But it should be easy to get right around that way. Nice angles, everything's facing right at me, so the rebound comes right back to me. Okay. Now we're just going to finish up, put our snare drum and our cymbals on, and we're ready to go. So another nice little feature that Peace Drums has added is this tom stabilizer. So it's just going to hook right in here, and it's just going to help stabilize these toms a little bit in case you're getting extra raucous on your drums. This will help hold everything together. So I'm just going to install it like this. Whoops. Or like this. And the higher up you get, the better for stability. Yeah, just snug it down. Now we're a little bit more stable there.